Hi, this is the evaluation of the order trading system for February the 23rd, 2021. We had 4 trades on that day. All were buys. First trade was ETM. That's Entercom Communications Corporation. It tripped at 1:05:05 p.m. at a price of 607. It closed the day at 620. Definitely a positive trade. And we'll take a look at the indicator. Indicator OBV looks pretty good up until, somewhat late afternoon, then dropped, you could see, so volume came down. Averages came up, stayed up, and same thing, dropped in the afternoon, and DI up and up. All indicators are showing pretty much the same kind of activity, but still, even with its downward activity at the end of the day, it still was above its tripping price. CDMO, that's Avid Bioservice Incorporated. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting, but it had no rise. So 620, just going back to ETM, 620, it closed at its previous close, or previous open, whatever, or previous close, I guess. Okay, CDMO, that's Avid Biosciences Incorporated. It tripped at 1:35:30 p.m. at a price of 17.91. It was a buy. It closed at 17.89. Down 0.89%. It closed below its tripping price, so we'll see if there's any opportunity there. 135, so roughly around this area. 1782, 1792, a little bit in here, not much, but at the end of the day, you can see, look, it came up and pretty much stayed up till the end of the day. So there was a couple of points, obviously, in the mid-afternoon, but late afternoon, you can see there was a big point there where it was up way above its tripping price. So that's another positive. We'll check to see if the indicators will show roughly that same kind of activity. OBV bouncing back and forth, obviously. Must have caught it, obviously, during its rise, during the tripping price, 135. Yeah, so tripped around here, tripped around here. MACD seems stable, but it was up at least most of the afternoon. DI up a little bit. Looked to be a bit more positive than negative directional index, so that's okay. And Bollinger Band again. Bollinger Band, Bollinger Band actually shows you that, it's kind of absolute movement, which is almost sideways for the whole day. You can see, like, from the opening to the closing, it pretty much ended practically where it started and where it closed, and movement was somewhat sideways. But again, a little bit of bouncing back and forth in this period at the end of the day is where we see that you could have made a profit on this easily. Next trade is FSLR, and that's First Solar Incorporated. Tripped at 3:05:37 p.m. at a price of 87.09, and it was a buy trade. It closed the day at 86.97, up 0.42%. It is opening early morning at 870.30 at 0.3%. So you can see this definitely was a positive, or possible if it wasn't positive. We'll check to see if there's any time. 3 o'clock. So roughly around here. So we caught it during this peak period here, but looked like late afternoon. Yeah, then dropped again. So there's a good half an hour almost of time here in the afternoon where there's definitely a point where you get out with a positive result there. And it did jump up quite a bit during that period of time. So that's another stock that's positive. And we'll check to see if indicators, OBV, showing good upward movement. MACD showed you that it was moving up until that peak. Peaked around here, so it caught it around here, and then you can see it peaked again up here. So it continued its rise after its tripping. rise and came down at the end of the day. DI showing the same thing. All the indicators showing pretty much positive movement, and Bollinger Band just showing that it was a steady rise for the day, so that's another good stock. GSHA is next stock. That's GS Acquisitions Holding Corporation 2. Tripped at 3:10:02 p.m. at a price of 12.82. Buy again. Closed the day at 12.90, down 9.15%, but we caught it as it was moving up, and it seemed like it was still moving up. And even early morning, you can see it's moving up, so it definitely would have been a positive trade. But again, these are always interesting, especially the stock. It actually dropped a good amount, like almost 10% from previous close. So the stock was down, but there was definitely potential there. And you can see the point right after it tripped. You can see it jumped up quite a bit, and then it came down a bit. But still above its tripping price, which is good, but still, end of the day, stock did good, so the indicator should show the fact that it did come up at the end of the day. OBV, pretty much yes. MACD, yes, came up at the end of the day. Drop off a little bit, obviously. And DI, again, I always like to see DI where I have this big spike in the average, because the average is a indication of the actual direction of the actual strength. The yellow and blue, I've never explained it, but if you're not familiar with this particular indicator, yellow obviously is indication of positive direction, and blue is negative direction. So yellow is basically say the stock is moving up, blue is stock is moving down, and the gray line is basically an indication of the strength of that movement. And as you can see, when it bought, you see it went up to the 70% mark on the movement. So it was a very strong movement, and Bollinger Band showing the same thing. So overall, the stock was doing well. So that's 4 out of 4 stocks. That's 100% positive trades. And again, another very good day. So we've had a few good days here of 100% trade activity. So that's good, and I'm happy because that's what the system was basically designed for, is to really identify the stocks that have potential and are showing that the activity for that particular stock is moving in the direction that was indicated. And we've been lucky that last few days that we've had a good result overall. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.